Every argument you enter secretly weakens you. Every explanation you give lowers your status, and every time you try to prove you're right, you lose. Listen carefully, because this is the first rule of power that most people will never understand. The world tells you that when you are challenged, you must respond. When you are questioned, you must defend. When you are attacked, you must strike back with words sharper than the one before. That advice has ruined more influence, more reputations, and more authority than any enemy ever could. Because the moment you open your mouth to argue, you have already stepped off your throne. Power does not announce itself. Power does not justify itself. Power does not chase agreement. Power waits. Machiavelli observed this centuries ago when he watched princes fall not from lack of armies, but from lack of emotional control. The prince who reacts reveals weakness. The prince who remains still forces the world to move around him. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. When someone challenges you publicly and you rush to defend yourself, you have unknowingly declared that their opinion has authority over you. You have elevated their voice to the same level as your own. You have invited them onto your stage. But when you remain silent, something extraordinary happens inside the mind of the challenger. They begin to doubt themselves. They begin to fill the empty space with their own insecurity. They begin to speak more, explain more, expose more. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces them to confront their own uncertainty. This is why kings, generals, and emperors throughout history mastered the art of the pause. They did not fear being misunderstood. They understood that being unreadable is power. When no one can predict your reaction, no one can control you. Modern society worships reaction. It calls it authenticity, it calls it honesty, it calls it courage. Machiavelli would call it recklessness. Every emotional reaction is information. Every defensive word is a confession. Every argument is a surrender of strategic position. When you choose silence, you deny your opponent access to your inner world. You keep your emotional gates closed, and when your emotional gates are closed, your influence becomes impenetrable. Think of the most commanding person you have ever met. They did not speak the most. They did not argue the most. They did not explain themselves the most. Their presence alone made others measure their words. That is not coincidence. That is hierarchy. Silence forces others to adjust to you. Speech forces you to adjust to others. When someone provokes you and you remain composed, they feel a sudden loss of control. They wanted your reaction. They wanted your energy. They wanted your attention. They are ruled by perception. They do not follow the one who is most correct. They follow the one who appears most certain. They do not submit to evidence. They submit to confidence. When you enter a disagreement armed with logic, you are stepping onto the weakest battlefield. Logic requires cooperation. Psychology requires only presence. A man can reject your facts. A man cannot escape the way you make him feel. This is why the most powerful figures in history rarely debated. They did not attempt to convince. They positioned themselves so that belief became inevitable. When you argue logically, you are asking for permission to win. When you operate psychologically, you take command of the room before a word is even spoken. Every interaction contains a hidden hierarchy. Someone leads, someone follows, someone frames the situation, someone reacts to the frame. The winner is not the one who speaks best, but the one who controls that invisible structure. Machiavelli advised rulers to study men the way a hunter studies animals. Not for what they say, but for what they reveal when they think no one is watching. Their fears, their desires, their hunger for approval, their terror of exclusion, their craving for status. These forces move people far more reliably than truth ever could. When someone challenges you, the instinct of the inexperienced is to rush forward with proof. But proof does not command respect. Authority does. And authority is a psychological state, created the other person's mind. Consider this. You can present 10 perfect arguments to someone who does not respect you, and they will dismiss all 10. But a single calm glance from someone they admire will change their behavior instantly. That is not logic. That is power. Power is the art of shaping what others believe about you. The great error is thinking that people want to know the truth. What they want is to feel safe, superior, included, admired, or dominant. Whoever satisfies those emotional needs becomes the leader in the exchange. This is why Machiavelli warned that men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. Appearances therefore become the battlefield of victory. If you look composed while the other person looks desperate, you are winning. If you appear certain while the other person appears emotional, you are winning. If you speak slowly while the other person rushes their words, you are winning. The mind of your opponent is constantly measuring these signals, long before it ever processes your actual argument. The psychological warrior does not chase agreement, he creates imbalance. He allows the other person to overextend. He lets them reveal their investment, their urgency, their emotional position. The more they reveal, the more control he gains. You do not defeat people by overpowering their ideas. You defeat them by positioning yourself as the calm center while they orbit in uncertainty. This is why silence combined with composure is so devastating. It denies the other person's psychological footing. They cannot tell whether you are offended, amused, unimpressed, or planning your next move. That uncertainty unsettles them, and unsettled people lose control. Once you understand this, you stop trying to convince. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending every statement. You start allowing your presence to do the work. You realize that the conversation is not about the topic. It is about who controls the emotional temperature of the room. The moment you control that temperature, you control the outcome. This is the hidden mechanism behind every instant victory. The greatest trap you will ever face on the path to dominance is not your enemies, not your rivals, not even the people who openly oppose you. It is your own ego. Ego whispers that you must respond. Ego demands that you must be seen as right. Ego insists that you must defend your name, your position, your honor. And the moment you obey it, your power begins to bleed. Machiavelli understood that nothing destroys authority faster than emotional attachment to one's own image. The man who is desperate to protect his pride becomes predictable. The man who is predictable becomes controllable. Ego makes you chase respect. Power attracts it. When someone questions you and your ego rises, you feel a fire inside your chest. Your mind races with words. You prepare explanations. You gat her evidence. You rehearse arguments. And all the while, you are surrendering the most important resource you possess, your inner stillness. Stillness is the foundation of command. Without it, every interaction becomes a struggle for validation. Ego convinces you that winning the argument will restore your status. In reality, arguing reveals how fragile your status truly is. Kings do not shout their legitimacy. They allow others to recognize it. The ego-driven man needs applause. The powerful man needs results. Machiavelli observed rulers who lost entire kingdoms because they could not tolerate being disrespected. They fought over words, insults, appearances, and in doing so, they exposed their vulnerabilities to those who knew how to exploit them. Your ego wants to be admired in the moment. Your power wants to be unchallenged in the long term. When someone attacks you verbally, your ego feels threatened. But the attack itself does not reduce your power. Your reaction to it does. The world is always watching not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you. If you react emotionally, they see your weakness. If you remain composed, they feel your authority. Ego seeks immediate relief. Power plays the long game. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to learn how not to be good, because goodness often serves the ego more than the throne. The need to be seen as moral, honorable, or justified can cost a leader his influence. The crowd may praise him, but his enemies will study him and strike where his pride is most exposed. Every time you defend yourself unnecessarily, you reveal where you are sensitive. Every time you insist on being understood, you show where your identity is fragile. Every time you chase approval, you announce that you depend on it. The powerful man does not need to be understood. He needs to be respected. And respect does not come from explaining. It comes from consistency, composure, and the refusal to be pulled into emotional contests. The moment you stop needing to prove yourself, you become dangerous. Because nothing is more intimidating than a person who is complete within themselves. Others sense it, they feel it, they hesitate for challenging it. The ego-driven man fights for every inch of recognition. The powerful man claims his space and lets the world adjust. This is the quiet transformation that separates those who command from those who compete. The ego is loud. Power is silent. The ego is restless. Power is patient. The ego reacts. Power observes. And the one who observes controls the game. The final and most dangerous truth of power is this: reality is not what is true. Reality is what is believed. Machiavelli understood this long before the modern world discovered marketing, branding, propaganda, and public relations. He knew that men do not move according to facts, but according to the images in their minds. The crown sits first in perception before it ever rests on the head. If people see you as powerful, you become powerful. If they see you as uncertain, you become weak. If they see you as a leader, they will follow. If they see you as a follower, they will command you. This is not philosophy. This is the machinery of human behavior. Every room you enter already contains a story about who you are. That story is being written by your posture, your tone, your silence, your reactions, your timing, your presence. Long before anyone hears your argument, they have decided how much weight your words will carry. Machiavelli warned that men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see you, but very few can truly know you. Therefore, the appearance becomes the battlefield where power is won or lost. The mistake of the inexperienced is trying to correct perception with explanation. They believe that if people misunderstand them, they simply need more words, more context, more detail, more justification. But explanation weakens perception. The more you explain, the smaller you appear. The powerful shape perception not with words, but with presence. They move slowly. They speak carefully. They react less than others. They do not rush to fill silence. They allow others to reveal themselves. This creates an aura, and that aura becomes their authority. People trust the man who seems unbothered by their opinions. They follow the one who does not seek their approval. They submit to the one who appears to have options. Perception is built from patterns. When people repeatedly see you calm under pressure, they conclude you are strong. When they see you unaffected by insults, they conclude you are superior. When they see you unshaken by conflict, they conclude you are in control. Soon they stop testing you. Soon they begin adjusting to you. This is how reality changes. Once perception is established, facts rearrange themselves around it. People reinterpret your past. They excuse your mistakes. They amplify your successes. They defend you even when you are not present. The world becomes your ally without you ever demanding it. Machiavelli observed that a prince who controls perception can survive almost any mistake, while a prince who loses perception will fall even if he does everything right. History is full of leaders who were not the best, not the wisest, not the most just, but they appeared invincible, and therefore became so. Your daily behavior is constantly shaping the version of you that lives in other people's minds. Every emotional reaction subtracts from your authority. Every moment of composure adds to it. Every time you chase validation, your image shrinks. Every time you walk away from unnecessary conflict, your image grows. This is why argument is so dangerous. When you argue, you lower yourself into the chaos of explanation and emotional exchange. You abandon your elevated position and meet others on equal ground. In that moment, perception collapses. But when you refuse to argue, when you remain calm, when you decline to be dragged into emotional battles, you preserve your image. You protect the invisible structure that holds your influence together. Over time, people stop challenging you not because you are harsh, but because they feel the weight of your presence. They sense that you are not someone who can be moved easily, and what cannot be moved cannot be controlled. This is the deepest lesson Machiavelli left behind. You do not rule the world by force alone. You rule it by mastering the images that live inside the minds of men. Now you understand the game that most people never see. You no longer believe that power comes from winning arguments, proving points, or being right. You see that true dominance is quiet. It is composed. It is built from restraint, not reaction. You have learned that silence is not weakness. It is leverage. That winning is not logical. It is psychological. That ego is not your ally. It is your executioner. And that perception does not follow reality. It creates it. From this moment forward, your behavior changes. You stop defending yourself to people who are not worthy of your explanation. You stop chasing approval from those who have no authority over your future. You stop bleeding energy in useless debates that only make your opponents feel important. Instead, you become still, you become unreadable, you become selective with your attention, and as you do, the world begins to adjust. People hesita. Before challenging you, they speak differently around you. They measure their words in your presence. They feel something they cannot quite explain. Control. This is the invisible crown of power. You do not announce it. You do not demand it. You wear it through the way you move, the way you listen, the way you refuse to be pulled into emotional battles. Because the highest form of victory is not defeating your enemy. It is becoming someone they cannot defeat.